Welcome back, folks. In this slide, we're going to delve into a very critical topic, OAuth. For those unfamiliar with it, OAuth is among the most widely used open standard authorization frameworks for web, mobile, and desktop applications. However, like almost any technology, it's not immune to security vulnerabilities if not properly implemented. Now, taking a deeper plunge into this, we will address the top 10 most common security mistakes made when utilizing OAuth. But, more importantly, we will equip you with the knowledge on how to evade these pitfalls. Let me underline common. Why? Because these are not rare, one-off errors. These are mistakes that, unfortunately, have taken place repeatedly and thus are worth paying extra attention to during development and execution stages. And remember, awareness and proactive actions are what make the difference between a secure OAuth implementation and one that's vulnerable to attacks. Let's absorb these mistakes one by one, understand why they are problematic, and most crucially, learn how we can avoid making the same blunders in our implementation of OAuth. This is no time for complacency. We're delving into some cybersecurity fundamentals, which are both interesting and pivotal to reducing and mitigating potential risks. Happy learning. All right, let's delve into the basics of OAuth. OAuth stands as an open standard authorization framework. It is a foundational element in the secure user authentication and access control within apps. This framework plays a key role in authorizing access for web, mobile, and desktop applications worldwide. It strengthens the interactivity between different software platforms securely. However, it's important to note that its strength largely depends on how well it's implemented. If the implementation is not done properly, some security loopholes may occur, exposing the system to potential vulnerabilities. OAuth can be a double-edged sword. It can both secure your applications and expose them to risks. Therefore, understanding its functionality and how to accurately implement it is vital for maintaining security and integrity of applications. Let's delve into one common security mistake that can occur in OAuth implementation: no encryption. In an environment where data moves extraordinarily rapidly and in vast amounts, data privacy becomes a critical concern, especially with something as critical as OAuth tokens. The issue that often arises here is the mistake of employees sending OAuth tokens over plain HTTP. Plain HTTP allows data to be intercepted, read, and even modified while in transit. It can usher in severe implications considering the delicacy of the information we are dealing with. OAuth tokens, which are meant for secure user authentication and access control. The solution here is quite straightforward. Always use HTTPS to send tokens. HTTPS is the secure variation of HTTP. It encrypts the data so that even if intercepted, the information remains safe and unreadable until it reaches its legitimate recipient. For instance, instead of sending the OAuth token over a plain HTTP like http://site.com/token, it should be sent over HTTPS like this: https://site.com/token. That S there stands for secure, in case you were wondering. But how can one secure their sites with HTTPS? Well, there is a free open certificate authority called Let's Encrypt that can help with that. It automatically enables HTTPS on your website, making the data transmission secure. Keep in mind, however, secure communication is only the first step. We also need to ensure that the OAuth access tokens are stored safely, but we'll delineate on that in the upcoming discussion. For now, remember, always send your OAuth tokens over HTTPS. On this slide, we are diving into common security mistake 2, access token exposure. This is a prevalent issue where OAuth access tokens are being stored in locations that are not secure. Now, why is this problematic? Simply put, if a nefarious actor gains access to these tokens, it can lead to unauthorized data access, which is always a potent risk factor in any application. But the good news is, we have a solution. To manage tokens safely, it is highly recommended to use secure HTTP-only cookies for token storage. This is an effective way to protect these sensitive tokens from being exploited. This can be understood better with the help of an example. You can set the cookie with your token securely using a format like the one given here. Set cookie ID token your token, secure, HTTP only. What this command does is, it securely sets your token in a place where it is not exposed to the external environment, thus reducing the possibility of any token theft. Remember, in cybersecurity, prevention is always better. Prevent access token exposure, add an extra layer of security. On this slide, we're diving into another common security mistake: weak tokens. This is a serious issue where systems are implemented with weak and predictable tokens. What's the downside of this? Well, if a token is predictable, it is much easier for a malicious actor to gain access to your system and data. Hackers utilize a variety of methods and tools to break predictable tokens and gain unauthorized access. So, how do we deal with this issue? The solution is to implement strong and random token generation. This boosts the level of security significantly, as it makes the process of figuring out the token much harder for potential intruders. A great example of a tool to generate these kind of strong tokens is OpenSSL's random or RAND command. Here's what the command looks like: OpenSSL rand base 6432. This generates a robust 32-character base 64 string that can be used as a highly secure token. Remember, when it comes to security, always prefer the stronger and less predictability. Making it harder for unauthorized entities to predict your token values will go a long way in shoring up your defenses. Moving forward with common security errors, we have insecure redirects at number 4. This is a significant issue that deals with the insecure redirection of Oauth tokens. Basically, what happens is that users can be redirected to malicious sites unknowingly, compromising their security credentials. But don't worry, there is a solution, and it's actually a straightforward one. The best practice here is to validate OAuth redirects, making sure to only permit redirects to whitelisted URIs. A whitelisted URI is normally an approved address that has been screened for security purposes. By doing this, you ensure that you maintain control over which sites these tokens can be redirected to, thereby shielding your systems and users from undue risk. So to emphasize, always validate OAuth redirects and limit them to approved whitelisted URIs to avoid this type of security mishap. So to summarize, the issue of insecure redirects can be mitigated by implementing robust validation safeguards on OAuth redirects. Don't underestimate the security risks tied to insecure redirects, as it's a common and easy mistake to make, yet its consequences could be catastrophic if overlooked. As we move on to our next common security mistake, let's delve into the topic of implicit grant flow. In the world of security, using implicit grant flow is considered risky. The main issue at hand is that it directly exposes access tokens. This practice is not recommended due to potential threats and exploitation. So, what can be done to mitigate this risk? Instead of using the implicit grant flow, it is advised to use authorization code flows. They are generally considered more secure and provide a higher level of protection against security threats. To offer a real-world scenario, in modern web applications, it is imperative to avoid the use of implicit grant flow. This outdated practice is one to be avoided when considering the best security measures for your web application's security. Prioritizing secure practices, like using authorization code flows, is key. Hence, keep in mind, the implementation of secure practices from the very beginning of web application development is pivotal in ensuring the safety of your data and the trust of your users. So, always prioritize the usage of authorization code flows over implicit grant flows for their higher security features. Diving further into our discussion about common security mistakes, we now move on to slide 7, which deals with CSRF attacks. CSRF, or cross-site request forgery, are attacks which exploit unsecured tokens, hence it's important to understand how to combat them. The principal issue here is unsecured tokens which can be exploited by CSRF attacks. Now, these attacks essentially force an end user to execute unwanted actions on a web application in which they're authenticated. So, how do you shield your application from such potential security threats? The solution is rather simple, yet highly effective. Use CSRF tokens. To protect against cross-site attacks, always ensure you incorporate CSRF tokens. This is a very practical way of mitigating against CSRF attacks. CSRF tokens are random strings assigned to a user during their session, which must be included in all requests. By validating these tokens with each request, you are helping to ensure the requests are not forged and they are same-site requests. As an additional layer of protection, you can utilize tools specifically designed for CSRF protection. An excellent example of such a tool that you can use is the OWASP CSRF Protector. This tool can highly beef up your application's defense against CSRF attacks, leading to a more secure application environment. Remember, security is all about layering, and CSRF tokens, along with the right tools, can definitely add a robust layer of protection to keep your applications secure. On this slide, we're talking about the seventh common security mistake, which is the use of non-revocable tokens. This generally refers to a scenario where Oauth tokens, once issued, cannot be revoked or expired by the application. This can lead to security issues if a malicious party gains access to the token. The solution is relatively straightforward. It's crucial to make access tokens revocable, implementing expiration times so that tokens cannot be used indefinitely. Having these measures in place greatly reduces the potential damage, even if the token was to fall into the wrong hands. An excellent example of this principle in action is Google's strategy for managing their token lifespan. Google implements access token timeouts, with the lifespan of each token set to 1 hour. After this period, the token is no longer valid, and a new one must be acquired. So by ensuring that your tokens are able to be revoked or expired, you can significantly improve the security of your application. On this slide, we're going to tackle the common security mistake number 8, which is the lack of scope restrictions. A very crucial issue is when we allow tokens that have overly broad permissions. This can pose a significant security risk, as it might allow unauthorized users to gain access to critical system data or functionality. So, what is the recommended solution to this problem? The solution we suggest is to apply fine-grained access control to each token. What this means is that each token should only have the necessary permissions it needs to function, and nothing more. Let's provide a concrete example to illustrate this. You can employ the Oauth 2.0 scope parameter to restrict token access. Oauth 2.0 provides this scope parameter to limit an application's access to a user's account. For example, an application might request access to your email and calendar. The scope parameter allows you to authenticate only specific subsets of the application's functionality, therefore limiting its access and enhancing the overall security. This concludes our discussion on common security mistake number 8, lack of scope restrictions. All right, let's move on to slide 10, focused on common security mistake 9, phishing attacks. This issue specifically pertains to the phishing of Oauth tokens. Phishing typically involves the malicious act of attempting to gather confidential information, often through duplicitous tactics designed to trick users. In our context, attackers may attempt to phish or illicitly obtain Oauth tokens, creating a significant security risk. To effectively address this issue, we need to implement what is known as proof key for code exchange, usually abbreviated as PKCE. It's an extension to the Oauth 2.0 protocol and is designed to prevent interception attacks during the authorization process. Now let's put it in the context of an example. PKCE is particularly useful in mitigating this type of attack when it's used in conjunction with mobile and native apps. These platforms are often more susceptible to attacks, making the implementation of PKCE a crucial tool for enhancing their security. Remember, security is not a one-time effort, but rather an integral part of your application's lifecycle that needs continual review and updates. PKCE implementation in Oauth tokens can be a key step in mitigating phishing attacks. On this slide, we are going to delve into the 10th common security mistake frequently made, and this is the issue of not updating Oauth frameworks and libraries. Just like any other software you use, it's crucial that you conduct regular updates to your Oauth frameworks and libraries. When you don't regularly update these technologies, your system becomes vulnerable to the exposure and exploitation of potential security gaps. Updates are generally released for a good reason. They often come with critical security patches that deals with vulnerabilities and could potentially save your application from serious security incidents. Let's illustrate this with an example. For instance, in the world of web or mobile application development, when you're working with Oauth and you skip an update, not only do you miss out on any new features or improved functions, but also you run the risk of exposing your system to possible security issues that would have been taken care of in the latest update. In short, the solution to this is quite simple. You need to regularly update all related software, libraries, and OAuth frameworks to ensure the increased security of your applications. The importance of this cannot be overstated, especially considering that frequent updates can be key defenders against different types of cybersecurity threats. On this slide, we're drawing some conclusions about OAuth security. OAuth has fundamentally transformed application security as a key framework, but it comes with its own suite of possible vulnerabilities. Understanding these vulnerabilities is critical. We must always be cognizant of them to prevent any leakage or misuse of OAuth tokens. These OAuth tokens hold a great deal of potential power and exposure. Hence, they should be treated with extreme caution. Should these tokens fall into the wrong hands, substantial damage could be inflicted. So what's the best way to prevent any such issues? Regular and diligent security testing is highly recommended. This serves to ensure that our OAuth implementations remain secure. Regular auditing can help identify any potential weaknesses in the system and help developers rectify them before they result in substantial issues. So in summary, OAuth opens many doors when it comes to application security, but it should be treated with respect and thorough understanding. Take all necessary precautions and never underestimate the importance of regular security testing in maintaining the integrity of your OAuth implementations. In this slide, we are going to touch upon some key references which you can delve into for further understanding and exploration of OAuth security. If you want to have a comprehensive understanding of the vulnerabilities that come with OAuth, this first reference is the OWASP OAuth Security Cheat Sheet. This guide serves as an excellent resource equipping you with the programmer's perspective on these vulnerabilities and how to circumvent them. The second document, RFC 6819, provides a detailed analysis of OAuth 2.0 and its associated security entries. OAuth 2.0 Threat Model and Security Considerations presents you with an expanded view of the threats prevalent in the OAuth architecture and puts forward various possible countermeasures. Last but not least, OAuth 2.0 Simplified, written by Aaron Parecki, is a practical guide that offers clear and simplified instructions on how OAuth 2.0 operates. In this book, Parecki breaks down complex concepts into a digestible format. As the name suggests, it simplifies your understanding of OAuth, assisting you in building secure applications. To wrap up this slide, these references will give you a broader perspective and, more importantly, an in-depth understanding of OAuth security.